So without further ado, let us get started. So I don't think we've got any new. Okay, so we've got Michelle. So Michelle, welcome to Liberty Mastery. I will introduce myself to you. Any other new people on the call? Okay, so I'll introduce myself to you. So my name is Chante Oduwole. I am a wife and mother of three, also a platinum leader here at Kingdom Finance Academy, which is in partnership with AME Finance Academy. I'm also a former secondary and sixth form teacher, owner of Kingdom Kids Childcare. Alongside this, I'm an educationist, investment property owner, school governor, and business for homes recommended distributor. So welcome to this call. I'm sure you are trying to master the charts yourself, either using Liberty or, you maybe use Hourglass, and that you want to kind of have the scope of both. Now, using, what HFX is time-based trading, and every single one of your profits are fixed percentages. So you always know how much you're putting down. You always know how much you may lose. Whereas with traditional trading, yes, you might put down 0.10, which means 10 pence per movement. However, you could lose 20 pounds, 30 pounds, and so on and so forth. So that's the great thing about HFX. You always know what to expect. And obviously your reward is based on your leverage. So whatever you put down, depending on the payout rate, maybe it's 70%, 79%, 80%, that is what you gain on top of it. So just using Liberty, Webslinger, and Simple Scalper. Okay, so Liberty the scanner, so Webslinger and Simple Scalper, good, well done. Fantastic. So I'm going to take you straight to the platform. So once again, you can enter Liberty through, just going to try and switch over. You can try to get to Liberty through the IM Center. Now, if you can't get through the IM Center, or for whatever reason you just prefer to go a shorter route, what you can do is just go to Goliberty.im. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, what you would do if you are going through the IM Center, you would click Strategies here. You would then scroll down, click HFX, and then you would find Liberty. The alternative is just to type in Goliberty.im, and then you can log in. Okay, and then you can just bookmark it for ease, if you are using this scanner. So let me just move all the photos and pictures out of the way. There we go. Right, so when you come onto Liberty, this is where it's a great scanner. When you come onto Liberty, it's always on default as to an hour. So it's on a 1 hour time frame. Okay, when it's on the 1 hour time frame, I'm going to give you steps that you should do to kind of qualify if it's a good trade or if it's not a good trade. Okay, so when you're on the 1 hour time frame, you're firstly going to see this selected here. It's a default. You also see all the different currencies on the right hand side. So you can see GBP USD is selected. Obviously you've got different hours. Then you've got EUR GBP, NZD USD, and so on and so forth. Now, even though this says a day ago or 22 hours ago, it doesn't matter, because what you are doing, that is when they called that last trade at that time. Even though it says that you are looking to take a trade now or within the next 10, 20, 15 minutes, okay? So it doesn't really matter. As long as you can see a good setup forming, that's when you now do further analysis to know when and where to get in on that trade. Okay, so step number one, what you're going to do is go to the time frame here and drop it to 5 minutes. So step number one, drop the currency time frame to 5 minutes. Okay, when you've dropped it to 5 minutes, what you're going to be looking to see is if it is a good setup. So what constitutes as a good setup? Okay, so what constitutes as a good setup? Now, as you can see, we've got a red cloud. Can everyone see the red clouds? Because I know some people have dimmed phones or laptops. So we should see a red cloud here. Okay, so you can see this red cloud all the way across, and it goes on for quite some time. Okay, and then underneath this red cloud, you should see price. So each of these are the candlesticks, and this is where price is below the red cloud. Now, I did mention one of these tips, so I'm going to mention it now because I always tend to forget, is you get better setups when these strings are actually underneath the cloud. When you start to see that these web strings start to go in the cloud, like you can see from here, okay, so these web strings start to go into the cloud, you then start to find a few more reversals than usual. Okay, when I say reversals, in other words, you've gone in for a sell, and maybe before you clear, or you still got a few more minutes, you might have been in profit for quite a while, it then decides to go up to your entry or past your entry, or so on and so forth. And normally that's because you then start to see that these web strings have moved their way into the clouds, which means that it's trying to do a pullback to a certain point, or it's now doing a reversal. Okay, so I had to mention that because I know sometimes it's one of the tips that I usually give to the team when we used to do our HFX community support group. Okay, so now that I've given you that little tip, price needs to be underneath the red cloud, and you should see that these web strings are nicely spread apart. Okay, so you can see that they're spread apart because there's nice gaps into it. I'm going to show you an area where they're not spread apart, so you're able to differentiate the two. Let's see where they cross over. There we go. Can find one right here. I'm going to spread it apart and drag this along. Okay, so this area here, I'm just going to circle it. This area here, can you see how they're all squashed together? It's one long flat line. Whereas if we scroll along, you start to see some good setups. Let's look at the red cloud. Start to see some good setups because they're all nicely spread apart. You can see all these web strings. They're nicely spread apart for everyone to see. There we go. And it's a bit like a spider's web, what I like to describe it as. Okay, so that is what you're looking for. So are the web strings spread apart? Yes, they are. Tick. Is price below the red cloud for a sell or above the blue cloud for a buy? In this instance, it's a sell because we've got a red cloud. Is price below the red cloud? Yes, it is. If it is a good setup based on those kind of checks, you're then going to go to step 2, which is going to the 1 hour time frame, which is the defaulted one it was on before. Okay, so you're going to be going to the 1 hour time frame. When you are on the 1 hour time frame, okay, let me just move this along. When you're on the 1 hour time frame, what you're going to be doing here is marking up your support and resistance zones. This is what some people don't really like. But your support and resistance zones, I will always say, is key to being successful. Being able to identify strong and weak support and resistance zone is key to being able to be profitable, and knowing when and where to get in, when to get in based on those points, because some people enter for a sell, maybe here, because they came to the end of that. And what happens is they've entered at the wrong time. So it's knowing where is a good point to enter. Okay, and how we're going to do that is by identifying our support and resistance zones. If you're not too familiar with that, then you need to look at either Brandon Boyd and Josh Lee's recordings, or you can look at SRTs under Millie's Go Live sessions as well. So if you log on to your Go Live and go on to either Brandon Boyd and Josh Lee or Millie Mills, those are the two that I know have done videos that a lot of people have found quite beneficial. So if you click on Millie Mills, or you can go to Dr. Josh Lee and Brandon Boyd, and they obviously teach just mastering the skill. They do not trade. So it's quite beneficial if you go onto that to try and understand more. Okay, so here we've got our resistance line. Okay, so we've got our resistance line here. And how do I know this is my resistance line? Well, if I zoom out, I can even drag this along a little bit further, but I only want to look to the left of price. I could go back really, really far, but you want to just be not too far off. So for example, here, okay, let me just make sure it's on the right time zone so that it's reflective of everything I'm saying, so there's no confusion. London. There we go. Okay, so right now it's around 8 o'clock. The last time this candle started forming was 8 o'clock. You can see the gray bar at the bottom that has the time and the date. And I'm looking just at the highest point, which was at 6 o'clock yesterday evening, or on the 13th, sorry, on the 13th of August. Look how far back this, because that means every single one of these candles are representative of an hour. So this is the 16th. This is the 15th. This is the 14th, sorry, 13th, because obviously that was the Friday. So this is what you want to see. You want to look at where the height or where the resistance was. You're then going to be looking at where the low was. And I can see clearly that there was a low here. Okay, so this is essentially the floor. So we've got the resistance, which is like the ceiling. And then we've got the floor, which is our support. Okay, support and resistance. Now you can see quite clearly that price was in between here before it decided to break through the floor, which evidently means that price would need to work its way up, or it needs to do a retest on this line, which it nearly did before it broke, it touched, and then decided to drop. Okay, so that's what we call a break and retest. When it breaks through a line or breaks through another zone, touches that line again before dropping. Now that you've marked up your main strong support and resistance zones, we're just going to make them really thick. So we know that those are the main ones. So we've got our main support and resistance zones drawn in. You're then going to go on to step number 3. Okay, so step number 3 is dropping to the 15-minute time frame. So you've got step number 2 being on the 1 hour. Step number 3, once you've done your support and resistance, your main ones, you're going to drop onto the 15 minutes. And what you are doing here is you're looking to see if there's any other mini support and resistance zones. And how you identify this, or how I identify it, should I say, is looking at areas of rejection, or the lowest price that price decided to reach or pull down to. So for example, here we drew this up earlier. We can adjust that because once you've got that on the 1 hour, when you spread it down to a smaller time frame, they break up into smaller parts. Okay, so we've got this area here. Are there any other mini support and resistance zones? Well, I can identify them here because I can see lots of flats. That means this is a mini support zone here. Why? Because price decided to bounce down. When we got a blue arrow, it went up. It tried again, couldn't, bounced up, tried again, and eventually it broke through. Okay, so what's the likelihood? Remember what I told you about break and retest. There's a strong likelihood that price still needs to come up here, because now that it's broken through, price hasn't gone up here to touch here yet. So it might happen today, it might happen tomorrow, but eventually price does need to go back up there unless it's broken through and created another one. And I can see another mini support zone here. Okay, you see another mini one, and these mini ones does not mean it is strong. Okay, so I'm going to make them really light so that we are able to differentiate them. Okay, so the strong one is the dark blue one, the one with the thicker line. That is the strong support zone. These ones are little mini levels in between. So like when you look at possibilities maybe 60%, it may pull there, or it may pull to the strong one. That is what you want to identify, so that you know where you should be careful for your sells or where you should be careful for your buys. Okay, so now that you've done that on 15 minutes, I can't see any other areas. I can't see any other areas for a support or other mini resistance zones. So I'm going to now drop and go to step number 4, which is executing the trade, which means you're going to take this trade on the 5-minute time frame. Okay, so we're going to drop to 5 minutes. And you know what? Sometimes it's very easy to say this because price has done what it needs to do. But when you come onto the charts yourself, maybe you find you know what you're doing, you know what you're looking for, is just getting those key entries. Then I would highly suggest obviously using TradingView. You can get the free version, you don't have to pay for that. Just use TradingView. Maybe you want to have it without these lines, or you could just delete this. You can delete these web slings just click the delete button to have it clear view, and then you can refresh it again if that's what you would prefer to do. Another thing I wanted to also show you is that you can add on indicators. So maybe you want to have the RSI on there. Well, you can have RSI. Okay, so RSI is for relative strength index. You can add that on there. When you double click, you can just edit it. So I'm just going to go here. I'm going to change this to 80, 20. And I'm just going to make this black so we can all see it. Maybe, you know, the RSI is what you want to be able to see when it's oversold and when it's undersold. I don't know. If that's not what you want to see, you could just delete that once again. So you just click on it, click delete. You could add on, maybe use MACD. So you can have the MACD. Okay. All these indicators. If you're not sure what these indicators are, once again, go on to Brandon Lee and Josh Boyd. Maybe just scroll through their videos, see which one, you know, brings up an interest in wanting to learn, because I kid you not, everyone has their own style. There's no perfect way of trading. Maybe the way I trade is actually, because the way I trade is different to the way my husband trades. Maybe the way I trade may be different to how Michelle trades. And we've all got our different styles. Hence the reason why some people like Liberty. Some people prefer hourglass. Some people don't like hourglass. Some people prefer simple scalper, and so on and so forth. So that is one of them. So this price is broken through. As you can see, it's inside the cloud. So remember what I said about when price is inside the cloud, you're going to find, there's a high chance you may find reversal. So I can see that price isn't, I can see like another little tiny mini support zone, which is right here. Why? Am I choosing this area particularly? Because price rejected off this, price rejected in that same area again. So I'd be waiting for price to either break through the last structure fully or go up to the main area that I mentioned before, because now you can see that price is inside this area. Okay, so you can see prices within this area. And what you want to see is, yes, we get the sell sign, but just because it comes up with sell doesn't mean you take the trade. Don't forget that when this sell sign is going to pop up, if I really zoom in, there we go. This sell sign will pop up when it crosses this thick red line here. Same as this one. When it crosses this thick red line here, that's when you're going to get a sell. And what you want to do is enter that sell or be prepared for that sell when it does come up. Okay, so once you can see this here, you either want to wait for a pullback to this area here, which is 364, then go for a 3-minute, 5-minute sell, or you wait for price to break the last low. And you can see the last low, if I just use a small line, the last low that it could not break, if we look left, is here. How did I learn all of this? Well, I learned all of this through watching educators, watching some of the videos, practicing myself on a demo if you're not too confident. And the thing is, the way you have to see this is that don't forget that this is an educational platform that also teaches you how to make money. If this was so easy and so straightforward, and I don't know, let me try and think of something. Maybe like learning how to cook. I find learning how to cook was easy. If it was that straightforward, every single person would be doing it. What is worth having does not always come easy, but it will be worth it at the end if you continue to be determined. Okay, so you could see here, how did I identify that? Well, I've zoomed in closer to where price is. I want to sell from either this 364, because I could see that price has not been able to go past this point. So I want to sell from 364, or at least my second entry point would be where price rejected off here in this area, which is at 357. So those are my 2 points of entry for a sell, maybe a 5-minute sell or a 10-minute sell or a 15-minute sell. Okay. How and when you go in for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes, once again, is down to preference. If this is your first time and you're starting off, I always recommend doing 15 minutes. Why? Well, for example, it's called a sell here. You've gone in for 15 minutes, 5, 10, 15, you've cleared. But I'm going to try and find an example where if you went in for a short amount of time, you may not have cleared. Let me try and find one. That one you would have. Obviously, when I'm looking for it, oh, here we go. Right, there we go. So for example, if you're done 5 minutes here, don't forget you're going to enter price when it crosses this thick line here. So that would have been at 555. Okay, so you would have entered in on this when it hit that 555 area. Price has hit 555. You've decided to go in for 5 minutes. Price then decided to go past your entry and close at 575. Okay, or you could have gone on if you had done 10 minutes. If you had done 5 minutes, you would have closed at 529. Okay, so doing 15 minutes, 5, if you've entered here, 5, 10, 15, the worst thing that could have happened is breaking even at that trade because you've entered in at 555 and you've closed the trade at 555. Okay, that's just a quick example of that. So as you can see price here, this candle that you see is live. You can also see the timer ticking down. And what this means is you've got 30 seconds or 35 seconds until this candle closes and begins a new candle. If you do not have the timer, you can click the little settings wheel and just click countdown to bar close. Okay, then you will have the timer that ticks down. So like I said, our entry would either be this 364 or our second entry would be at the 357 mark. Okay, and the reason once again for that decision is because of where price rejected here. And lo and behold, price got up to, on this one, let's see if it goes past it. It will probably touch this 364 and then decide to drop, okay? If that is something that makes sense, type a 2 in the chat box so that I know that you're following. And then I can go over to a buy example and also take your questions. Oh, great, Adette's on as well, great. Michael, fabulous. Good. Okay, so let's go and look at a buy example. I took 4 trades on GBP USD today. I know Peter knows because I was telling him to look at GBP USD. It looked quite good for me, which is the one we're looking at. I liked the way it was moving. I can't remember the time I was on the call, but by the setup on what I was seeing, it looked like some good setups. And as you can see, it's been dropping for most of the day. I also took a traditional Forex trade through using colors as well on that same GBP USD yesterday. So it's been dropping since yesterday, as you can see, if we scroll back, look how long it's been dropping for. Okay, but price does not continue dropping forever. At one point, it's going to do a pullback. It's always a matter of when, not if. Okay, so let's go and look at a different currency. I want to go in one that's got a buy on it. So let's let me try and find one. It's the same principle, just the opposite way around. If I can't find one, let me see USD JPY. Oh, that's another thing. So if you want to change the currency, you don't just delete the currency here, you delete the whole thing in this area, and then you type in the currency you're looking for. So USD JPY, 5 minutes. Oh, that was a lucky guess. I guessed USD JPY, and here we go. Right, it's not a great buy, but you know, it's inside the cloud. If price is inside this cloud, and as you can see, if I circle it once again, price is inside the cloud. Ooh, no, that's not what I want you to do. There we go. So can you tell me in the chat box, is this closed or open? Is this area I circled closed or are the web strings open? Let me know. So are these web strings closed? Good. Okay, so they're closed. Thank you, Michelle. They are closed. Well, thank you, Adette. Okay, so they're all closed, and you can tell that they're closed because they're all squashed together. If you just look to the left, you can see how they're nicely spread open and see the comparison. If you still aren't sure and you still can't tell the difference, then maybe it's a case of taking a screenshot and then typing or writing, for example. Let me just do this. So maybe you take a screenshot like this, it pops up, and you go and write it's closed on it, or whatever you want to have on there. Maybe you write, oh, that's a terrible color. There we go. Maybe you write closed. so that you or open, whichever one. Okay, so they're able to tell the difference. Okay, so yes, that area is closed. We do not want to take buys on this until it's out of the cloud. Now, there are some people that are riskier traders. Maybe there's some people that I could tell that means it's going for a buy, so I'm just going to ride the wave and take it anyway. By doing that, you are taking a risk. But once again, we all have we all have different appetites for risk. Okay, I would ideally say wait for it to be outside the cloud, wait for the web strings to be nicely spread open, and then you can take it. Once again, you don't have to just rely on the web strings. You can still use you know, the indicators. Maybe you want to use awesome oscillator. And I'm not here to teach indicators, but how this works is when you get smaller ones, you can see the direction. So for example, you can see that this, let me put a line through this so that it makes it a bit clearer. I'm not here to teach, but just to kind of show you if this was one of the indicators you wanted to use. Okay, so when price is a strong momentum, meaning it's moving on the upside, you will see that the price is above and it's flipped over. The green is essentially, you can change that so that it's matching up with what we are looking at. So I'm going to change that to be blue. Let's make it thicker. And let's do the red a bit thicker as well. There we go. There we go. So everything matches up. So we know that when it's got strong blues like this, it's on the up, is moving up onto the upside. This is called an awesome oscillator, AO. Okay, and as you can see here, it's moving through the blue clouds, but would you want to take it now? No, because it's still flipped underneath, which shows that it's still got a downwards momentum. The blue starts becoming smaller and it's moving through. So you could then say, right, okay, based on what I see, I can see it's moved up onto the flip side. I want to try and see if I could take some buys now. If you did do that, fair enough. At least you're using an additional indicator, but don't just go off what you see. Okay, so let's go and look back at a buy. So what we're going to be doing again is the same thing. When you open it up, it'll be on the 1 hour time frame. You look on 5 minutes. Is it a good setup? Yes or no? If it is, like we can see here, we're going for a buy. Price is above the blue cloud. If it were to be in this area, the web strings are nicely spread apart. You'd go on to step 2, which is the 1 hour time frame. What are we going to be doing in the 1 hour time frame in this area? What are we going to be doing? We're going to be looking for our support and resistance zones. So once again, you look, this is where price is. Don't forget the last candle you see is where price currently is. Okay, so I can see here that this is where price was. This is the lowest point that price got to. How do I also know that? What's my other confirmation? Well, I can see that price touched this point here. I can even just do it off the wick. And then price decided that it wants to reject off it. This line, this wick that we see, touched that point again, rejected, and went off again. So there's a high chance that this is a strong zone. So I'm going to put that in as dark blue. Let's go and look for our resistance. Okay, so resistance is the ceiling. Now, it might be hard for you to identify. Maybe that's something you find quite difficult. If that is, always start close to where price is and see if it matches any areas to the left. So this is not far off from where price is. If I zoom out and I look, did price touch anywhere else near this point? Oh, yes, I can, because I can see that there is a point also here that matches up with where I'm trying to draw this line. Okay, so if I move this up and drag this along, there we go. Oh, I need to make this red. There we go. I can see that this same area that it touched here is also the same area that it touched there, which shows me that that's a strong resistance zone. And I can delete this circle now. Okay, so I can see that it's a strong resistance zone. When you see the wick, some people do go off the wick. You can do that if you want. You can just draw in another line. But because the wick only went past there once, it's not strong enough for me. You know, that's not a strong enough indicator for me. Don't forget, when you see a wick, it's just a shadow of price. That means price tried pushing past that point, couldn't, and rejected, and then closed in underneath that line. Okay, so that's our support and resistance zones marked up. And you can see that this is today. So at 8 o'clock, this is on this bar. And we have marked our resistance up since the 15th. So once again, last week. So that's more than enough scope. Let us now look at 15 minutes. So once you've marked up your support and resistance zones, being the strong ones, drop to the 15-minute time frame. On the 15-minute time frame, we're going to be identifying any other areas of support and resistance, and I can see it straight away. Once again, it's training your eyes. It comes, I can see one here. Okay, it's really light, but either way, I'm still going to mark that area up. Ooh, there we go. Okay, and once again, zooming in, my reasons for marking this area up is because that served as a resistance rejected. Price decided to go nearish it again, and then eventually decided to break through. So that is another mini support or resistance area, okay? Can I see any other areas? Vaguely, I wouldn't really classify this. I'll mark it up anyway so that it's there, but this isn't really one for me, but I can put this here so that I can see or be aware of it, okay? So let's mark this up thinner. Now that I've done that, can I see any other areas? Can I see any other areas? No. I can see a little bit of one here, but it's not strong enough for me once again. So you can see this area that I'm drawing across because price broke through it. I would mark it up for you. So let's show you where I'm looking at so that you can see it. There we go. Okay, so why this area? Let me just adjust it so that is accurate. There we go. Why this area here? Well, price rejected underneath it here, went down to this little mini one that I lined up before, broke through, rested against that little mini floor again, and is obviously on the up. Okay, so we know that this is a good area for a buy because it's a good mini zone. If we don't buy there, we could buy at the next level or the next level. Okay, so you're identifying yourself good points for entry. So once you've done your mini other support and resistance zones, we then go on to step 4, which is where we execute the trade, being 5 minutes. Okay, so 5 minutes. There we go. Okay, and it's still within the cloud. However, I did say you can get in for earlier entries, but you're just waiting for price to be above the cloud. Remember what I told you before, you don't want to enter inside the cloud, number 1. Number 2, you want these web strings to be outside of the cloud. So in this instance, you can see that the web strings are inside the cloud and they're not spread apart. However, we can see through the awesome oscillator that is showing a strong momentum to the upside. So this for me, I might want to do a 2-minute trade, but I want to get in a good entry where the last one closed. So around this area here, 583, I might want to enter for 2 3-minute trades if I'm executing on that. Because a lot of people ask questions of how did they take 2 to 3-minute trades on Liberty? You can, but once again, it comes with, I always say, start with 15 minutes. Start with 15 minutes. If you find 15 minutes is too long for you, then you can look at 10 minutes. But the safest option when you are starting and you're still finding your feet with Liberty is 15 minutes. A lot of people thank me later. If you feel that you know what you're doing now, okay, look, there you go. It's just touched the entry point I said, which is the 583, and it's going back up again. So I'm going to mark that up so you can see what I mean. I marked this area. Okay, so I marked this area up for entry, and then you can take that for 2 3 minute a buy. Okay, so this is what I mean. So you can find other little mini support and resistance zones, and you can also back it up by using indicators. Once again, there's no specific indicator for you to use. And always bear in mind that indicators also do lag behind price. Okay, they lag behind price for a reason. Is because price needs to move first, and then the indicators are like, oh, okay, you're moving up, let me change. Okay, so with that said, if that is clear, type a 7 in the chat box. Number 7 in the chat box, if that is clear for a buy. Fantastic. Right, does anyone have, thank you, Dennis, thank you, Michael, Odette, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions so far based on what we've discussed? Any questions, any points you'd like me to kind of go over again? Any points you want me to kind of look for?
Hi, Chante.
Hi, Odette.
My question is, so when the market is trending upwards, so you're obviously it's a buy, you're buying, and you can't really identify, like all you've got is just like strong momentum of blue candles. I've struggled to kind of find where I would like where I would have as my my entry point. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I struggle, like obviously what I've noticed is sometimes it's like a step, it's like building up stairs, like every candle is like a step and a step and a step, and it's just going up. So would my entry point then be at the last close of the candle, of the last candle? Would that be like where I would probably want to go in if it's like got a strong momentum of like
this one?
Yeah, like maybe, yeah, like that one.
So it's not always where the last candle closed, but I went for this. Why? Because it had a buy. I could see this awesome oscillator if I am using that in conjunction with it. And it served as a mini resistance of this area. It rejected here. It rejected before it decided to obviously break through. So it's identifying other mini support resistance zones. So if you can give me an example, maybe this is a currency that you looked at today, maybe we can analyze it together.
This was just something from yesterday, I think. I mean, today I was on GBP CAD, and yeah, that like it proper messed with me. But I think some of it.
I had her on in the kitchen while I was doing dinner.
I didn't even trade with her because I tried to going on my own, and then like anyway, so I'd done all my trading for the day. But yeah, like I'll see if I can share my screen, and like I could just show you. It was actually, no, I could just tell you the end, like where I went in. Yeah. But I was just a bit confused as to basically what was the support now became the roof.
Yes.
So it hit it broke the roof and it went through. So I was like, okay, obviously it was having a downwards momentum.
So
and I went in
here.
Yeah, and I went in. I think it was a 15 minutes. I think I went in for 15 minutes, and I pretty much was like in profit. And then literally, like I think a few minutes to go, it went in the opposite direction. Like it literally reversed. But everything else was was correct. Like, you know, I checked, the strength hadn't changed for there was definitely a difference in the strength of the currencies. But then my question, when I looked at it again, I thought maybe I didn't factor in the 3 wall candle where I just went in when it had just broken, like when it had made basically the roof had become the support, and I didn't leave it. Yeah, I didn't wait for it to retest. So I think, okay, yeah, I think that's probably kind of where I went.
You just answered your own question.
Yeah, I've just realized that now. But yeah, okay, but if it's like buying, if you're buying, then just identify many areas of resistance. Likewise, even in the selling as well.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, right? Imagine none of this. You know, I've zoomed across. Let's say, for example, none of this has happened. You wouldn't be looking for sales anyway, because here then we've got a blue cloud, but we start to get a red cloud appear here. Now, if we had gone on to the 1 hour, this is the one that you were mentioning, GBP CAD. We go on to 1 hour. Right. So I don't know what time. Do you know what time roughly?
I think it was around, hold on, let me look at my chart, then I can. It was around 1. Yeah, it was around 1.
1. Okay, so around here. Okay, so I'm going to quickly mark up on, I'm not going to know your entry right now. So you've told me it's around 1 o'clock you entered, but I'm just going to mark up as I would the chart and kind of look at where I would go in for buys and or a sell. Okay, so I'm going to mark up this area here. And this is my resistance. So this is my strong support and resistance on a 1 hour. Why this one? If I really wanted to, I can show the last level of support here. Okay, so price is broken through. It's done that retest and it's gone up. Okay, and then it's continued to break back down and touch. Do you remember what we said? Look, we've marked it up already. Where it's touched, funnily enough, it's exactly where it is, where I marked that mini resistance zone, hence the reason it's on a light line. Let's drop to 15 minutes and find any other zones. Okay, so it's right, can you see where it is now? It's in this consolidation field. Yeah. But I'm gonna try and see where I would have gotten in because I don't know your entry price at all. I feel like I'm a magician. We have to guess stuff. Okay, so I've done that. Can't find any other zones. And then let's go on to the 5 minutes. Okay. So today is the 17th. Let's look at price before. So I wouldn't have entered on any of these ones. Let's just zoom out. I wouldn't have entered in on, let me just mark it up. So the black will mean I wouldn't have entered on them, just to show you. So I wouldn't have entered in on any of these. Why? Because it's underneath a blue cloud. Okay. We start to see a red cloud on this side here. Okay, so this would be good points to start taking buys or sells. So I'm going to mark that up in blue because it's fine. Okay, so we've gone in on this one. That was starting to spread open. Even if you didn't and you wanted to wait to make sure it's going in that direction, you could enter on the next one. So 5, 10, 15. Now, bearing in mind, we got to the 15. If we got a sell up here, I know I don't want to take this sell. Why? Because it's right next to this support that I've marked up. I've obviously marked this up. Obviously, we can't see it now. It's 5 minutes. You see? It's right here. So if I get a sell, I don't want to take this sell yet because it's right next to this line. When it's next to a line, there's a high chance we're going to see a reversal, no matter which way you're going. So we get a sell again here. This sell, I'm not going to take it on that 15-minute sell. Why? I'm going to wait for it to break it, close. Remember what we did on when we done our team trading before, we wait for it to break, we wait for it to close. And then we can, once it's closed underneath that line, okay, then we've got a short sign, it's going to continue to drop. Then enter in the next candle, we get a sell. 5, 10, 15. We've cleared that trade. We're going to wait again. Look, when near another line, we call this our mini, what did we call it? A mini resistance line.
Mini resistance,
So even if I got a sell here, let's say, for example, I got a sell on this candle, I'm not going to take it. I'm going to wait because there's a high chance it might touch it. You might be in profit. This is where I was saying we'd be in profit, and then it goes off on one. We get a sell here. Do I want to take it? Still quite close. If you want to take it for 3 minutes, you could do those ones. 3 minutes, cool. 15 minutes, when it's near a line, no.
We're
going to wait again. Price hasn't broken this. As you can see, look at this. All the sells you've taken for 15 minutes. 5, 10, 15 lost. 5, 10, 15 lost. 5, 10, 15 lost. So this is why we put these lines to avoid all these losses. If we didn't have these lines, we would have entered in, we would have had 4 losses in a row. And then we get frustrated. And that's why it takes time to put the lines in, but it saves you in the long run. You know, so we've saved ourselves. So there's all of these cells right here, up to here. In fact, it's not even up to there. Up to, oh, there's quite a few. So they're all right next to the line. So if I definitely do want to take a sell and I'm tired of waiting, I could move to a different currency pair. However, what I want to do is prices in the middle. So remember when we say sometimes we don't want to take price in the middle, we want to take it at the best position. Now we know this is near the line. The next best area for us to try and get that sell in is either at the last high when price broke. I'm just going to mark this up with a little line here. So we either want to get in for a sell here.
Yeah.
What price is that? I don't even know what price is that. 597. We either want to get in at the 597 area. Why? Because price broke through. So 5, 10, 15, that was the last high of where it was a good price. We know that price is now lower than that and it's near a line. So we're just going to be waiting for either a price close to 597 or better entry, the strong last support, which is now becoming healing.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's scroll along. So we've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you've lost 9 because if you continue to try and take them, you should never do that anyway. We normally say if you lose more than 5%, just stop. You are going to be waiting. So we're waiting. Oh, look what price did. It touched this zone again, but the web strings went spread open. But let's say, for example, you're going to take it anyway. The strength was still good. If you're using that awesome oscillator in conjunction, it's all good for me. So I'm going to take 15 minutes. It's not near the line anymore. 5, 10, 15, or maybe when price touched it here. This is how you get earlier entries. Okay, so price has now touched that. You decide to get in 5, 10, 15, clear. 5, 10, 15, you still cleared on that one. Yeah. So remember,
when it's like, when I see it like that, where it's in like the clouds and then you've got the green web strings and red and everything merging, it just looks so messy, and I don't even.
That's fine. That's the best way to do it.
Don't even go there.
Yeah, you could now decide, you know what, it's inside the cloud. I'm going to go and look at another currency. I don't want to take no risk.
Okay.
But even if you did wait for that area, if you could definitely see that it's coming up to that price again, even if it rejected, you could do 5, 10, 15 again.
Yeah, okay.
Still would have.
But if it's in the clouds and it meets the conditions, as in it's hit the point where you know that, okay, it hits this price, it's gonna reject it, it's a good place to go in.
Yes,
I could go ahead and take the trade.
Yeah. Okay. So as you can see on the next one, it did call for a sell. It's not far next to it again. 5, 10, 15, you would have still cleared that trade because price closed here at 508. You would have entered in, where did it cross? At 578. So you've got a nice amount of time. Obviously, we come down here again. It's quite close to this line. Even if you didn't say it, or you could avoid it because it's right next to the line, which is where we saw before, and stay away from it again. There we go. You've avoided it. You've avoided losses again. Okay. So that's a good way of doing it. So 100% continue to draw in lines. Even if you took these 2 or 3, you still would have, that 4 trades a day is great. I think it's Des that says it. 4 trades a day keeps the JOB away, or something like that. So
question. I didn't want to interrupt, so I put my hand up. I was trying to be really
good with you, Michelle. Yes, go for it.
You know what you were saying before about if the other things are lined up, you can take the trade even if it's in the cloud?
No.
Sorry, say that again.
So let me go back to where I was on here. Where it was in the cloud. There we go. So we waited for price.
Just past the green part.
Yep.
Just past that consolidation part there, where the red candle was, you were talking about everything else seems to be lined up, so that might be an okay trade to take.
Yes.
Is that just down to different educators having different ways to do things? Because I've heard some educators say, if it's in the cloud, avoid it. If it's in the consolidation area, the green one, don't do it. It's going to be a bad trade. Is that just purely down to?
So do you remember earlier I said? Yeah, so earlier I said that these are indicators. So these web strings are indicators, clouds indicators. The key thing, and this is going to, once again, along with, support and resistance, price action. If you look at Brandon Boy's price action is king. That comes first before anything else. Right. Price will do what it needs first. And then the other indicators come along, like, oh, wait, you're moving this way. Okay, I'm going to move that way. Oh, you're going this way. So it does lag behind price. Hence the reason, if I give you an example, I said we're going to wait for price to touch the last support or the last new floor. That means it touched it here. It's telling us to buy. But look what it did. When price has dropped, the AO oscillator, which is still the indicator, tells us to still buy. It's only
Yeah.
after it's done what it needs to do
But
to
react
down.
afterwards.
Oh, it's reacted. Okay, it's going down. So let me now change color.
Right.
This is
Okay.
why,
So
yeah,
right, that's why it looks like that then.
yeah.
Right.
The most important thing: support and resistance lines, price action. What if
Right.
we have this line in here? Let's say, for example, we didn't do any support and resistance zones. You'd be following just candles. If you weren't using any indicators, no support and resistance zones or lines, then yeah, just follow the thing of no clouds. Don't trade in clouds. Don't trade when they're close together. Just follow the indicators. But if you are using additional guidance, such as the SRTs, which is the support, resistance, and trend lines, along with additional indicators, then you are able to get in on trades earlier.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So some of the advice then that I'm listening to is down to individual educators and what they go with. Right. That's fine. I just wanted to clarify that. I'm thinking that doesn't sound like what the last person said. Right. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other examples or currency pairs we'd like me to look at quickly before we end our session? Any other pairs or examples? Let me go to the chat box. How many support or resistant markers should we be using? So there's no specific amount. It's only when you see the support and resistance. So it's not, oh, you must put in 4 and you must put in another 3. No, it's only where you see support, a strong support and resistance. When you drop to a lower time frame, if you see any other mini areas, mark them up. If you don't see any, don't mark them up. And do you place support resistant lines on the flat candle or the wick? I personally take it from the body. However, if price, let's say, for example, this one here that we've got in front of us, I may mark up the resistance. There we go. I may mark up the resistance here, being the strong one. Okay. But if I see that the wick, if I only see one wick pass on one candle, I won't mark up the wick. If I see a wick maybe twice, maybe this candle's gone up to the same zone, I can then also use that because I can also use this as another potential area. Okay, so I could use that as another, let's say, for example, it had touched the wick twice. I might now see that as another area. Some people do go from the wick because don't forget that is still the shadow of price. That's getting the best entry. So sometimes even on your broker, you could see one peak, one big peak, and then flatlined. That means that was the highest price got to, but there's not a surety that price will get there again. So sometimes you may see that, oh, I'm going to wait for the best price. I'm going to go for the wick, but maybe the price doesn't go to the wick. Maybe it only goes to the body, which is the stronger area to get in. So if you look at the double blessing strategy that Kenry does, he marks up the wick and he marks up the body. So it, once again, is just preferential, which one you would prefer. I tend to go from the body, but if anyone's seen me trade, they know I try and see, I always enter, if I'm going to give you a trade, I would say enter at 121 or higher. Because some people may decide that they want to wait for the wick. That's what you want to do. That's fine. But then that's how some people miss out on jumping in the trade because they're waiting for a higher point. Just because the wick is there does not mean that price is going to return to that wick. But there's a high chance because of where it's closed that price will, return to where the body of price closed last. So that is that. Any other questions? I'm just scrolling through. So if you have found this session beneficial, type a 7 in the chat box. So if you found this session beneficial, type a 7 in the chat box. Don't forget, we're here every single Tuesday at 8 by God's grace, and you are able to come along. So let's say, for example, you've taken a trade and you're like, see, this is what I was talking about in the session. I don't get this. Take note of the currency, the time, your entry, bring it back to us next week. We'll analyze it together. We'll look at it together. And we can kind of look, you don't have to tell me your entry, just say, I took this trade, what would you have done? And then we're going to go and look at it, because it's by analyzing and looking back at what went wrong if you don't understand is how we learn, how we grow, and how we develop. So I hope you all have a fantastic evening. That is the end of tonight's session, and I will see you again next week.